Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome to another Friday First Impressions video. Now for this video we will have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Neverwinter. This was originally released on PC back in 2013. I did play it quite a lot at the time and I actually really enjoyed it. Fell away from it a bit just because other games caught my attention. There was no particular reason I really stopped playing it because it was a ton of fun. Now since then it has come out on Xbox in 2015 and PlayStation 4 in 2016, and that's the version we'll be playing through today. It's the PlayStation 4 version and we're playing this on the Pro as well. So let's start off by having a look at the character creator. Just before we look at the actual races here, I'll mention you have two character slots to start off with. With it being a free to play game, you'll have to pay cash if you want to actually unlock more slots. We've got the human first there, then we've got the half orc. This is your berserker type character. Got wood elf. Next up we have the sun elf. Now you'll notice each of the races has racial abilities and they will actually benefit you if you go particular classes. Like the dwarf for example would be a perfect class if you were to go for a tank. You've got the half elf here and you can tell from the actual preview armour he's going to be your healer. Then you've got your magicians here with the tiefling, if that's how you actually pronounce it. And then the final race we'll look at is the drow. Now we'll actually work our way back up the list and we'll change over to the female type just so you can see what the races look like. I always wondered what a female orc would look like. Female dwarf as well, they don't have a beard as much as I thought they may have. There we go. So quite a lot of different races there available, which is pretty great, and the fact you've got the abilities is interesting as well. The race of choice then I will be going for the tiefling one because I fancy a mage style character, but we'll look at the classes. You've got the rogue, then you've got the cleric. This is of course your healer. You can see the different sample powers down the bottom there. Then you've got your control wizard. He's all about crowd control, not surprisingly. And we have the hunter. That was very tempted to do, and the hunter armour actually looks fantastic, but I've decided to mix up a little bit for this video. We have the Scourge Warlock, which is a class that wasn't available when I originally played it back in PC, so that's one I will be trying. Next up is the Oathbound Paladin. Then the Great Weapon Fighter, which is your two-handed sword berserker style character. And then we have a classic tank here with the Guardian Fighter. So what we'll do, as mentioned, is the one we'll be going for. We'll go for the Scourge Warlock. He looks pretty cool. So next up then you have your initial ability scores, and you can re-roll these. So you want to keep rolling them until you have the highest stats possible in your primary attributes. And for the Scourge Warlock Tiefling, we're looking for a mixture of Constitution, Intelligence and Charisma. And we actually got lucky there and we've got quite high in each of them, so that's nice. I will stick with that. Down the bottom you've got your racial ability bonus, so you can go for either Charisma and Constitution or Charisma and Intelligence. So Constitution will give you health, so that's if you're playing a more melee character, or Intelligence will be if you're going more for pure damage. So we now have the fun part of the character creator, where you're creating how your character actually looks as opposed to their stats. So there's quite a lot of different options here, and I'll just quickly hover over them. I'm not going to spend too much time in the character creator because I want to show off gameplay really in this video, but I'll give a quick preview and go by most of the options. You can see up here there is an absolute ton of different options. We'll quickly work our way down them just to give you a good indication of how in depth you could go as to customising your character. So next up, now that we've actually chosen how our character looks, you've got some background for the lore, because Neverwinter is a game that's very lore heavy, and I know there's a lot of massive fans of the Dungeons & Dragons world and are really into the lore in it. So we'll quickly go over the different options here and show them off what you can choose from a lore perspective. Personally, I'm not too much into the actual Dungeons & Dragons, so I don't know which one I should really be picking from a class. So what I'll do is just pick one that I think would sound good with a mage style character. We've also got our origins here which we can choose as well, so a ton of options for players that are into role playing, which is pretty great. So with each of these different origin zones there are variants. Now none of these are actually applicable to the mage style character that I'm playing, and I do like an element of role playing, so we'll check out somewhere else and see if there's something that would fit a bit better. There we go, that's looking much better there. We've got Secret of Knowledge, that sounds pretty good for a mage character. And that is us, we're now live, so here we go for the gameplay. You can see there's a whole lot of different options on the UI there, but that's always going to be the challenge when you're taking an MMO from PC and you're moving all the different options that are available via keybinds to an actual controller. So that's something that we will be looking at as we work our way through this first impressions.
Not a very auspicious homecoming, is it? Neverwinter quest path leads to your next objective.
Graphically I do like the art style, it's almost cartoony to an extent, but for that reason it looks nice and crisp and clear.
Interact with nearby characters and objects. Select between multiple objects.
We've got our first piece of gear here, pretty basic, ragged tunic. And there we go for our first weapon as well.
Select an item to equip it. Press the touchpad button to toggle between HUD elements. Quest tracker displays current quest objectives.
So we've got a little trail of breadcrumbs here in a way to follow, and that's good to be honest, because when I was playing Terra in the last first impressions video I done, that I really struggled with not knowing where the quests were that I was supposed to go for, and sometimes if a game holds your hand too much it can take away an element of the exploration that's available in it. But you'll see as we work our way through this video, as much as you have that trail, if you choose to go off the beaten track, which you don't have to do, but if you choose that, you normally find little secret chests and pieces of lore as well. So that's a great compromise. If you want, you can just follow the trail. If not, you can go see if you can see some secrets as well. We've got a first taste of combat here then. Pretty basic at this stage of course, because we've just started level 1, so we don't have a great variety of skills to use. We've really just got our main spender, but we'll level up nice and quick as we work our way through here. We're having to compete with other players here for that actual quest.
Press L1 and X to jump. We were lucky to drive Valindra's forces. Thank you for it.
So there we go, that's our first quest completed there. 10 experience, 4 copper. Now the next quest is a pretty simple one, it's just a collect quest because this is a starter zone. So we'll jump forward a bit here to the next section. So we've leveled up there in the meantime. We've got a new skill. This particular one will allow us to summon a big demon of sorts. This is pretty fun, looks really nice as well. On a relatively high cooldown, but it is quite powerful, and it works if you defeat the enemy. If you don't defeat them, it will just merely do damage, but if you use it against a lower level enemy, it will be a one-hit kill and it will summon the demon as well for you. Perfect skill for a range class because it does do an element of tanking and distracting the enemies there.
looking a good deal fiercer than when you washed up on the beach. Told you trying out by the fire would do you good. They're in trouble! We must go to their aid!
Clicking the L3 button to shadow slip and disperse.
So we're showing off the dodge that you've got now, so it actually varies depending on the class. You'll click L3. For this particular class it's really pretty great. They slip into the shadows and they can move around as long as they've got enough stamina to actually maintain the move. If you're going a tank character with a shield, you will for example hold up the shield instead, so you just block. You don't need to dodge when you're wearing heavy armour. When I did try the archer for a little bit, he was rolling around the screen as well, so it does vary from class to class.
Select an unidentified object and choose identify. Use the scroll.
What in the nine hells is that?
We're slowly being drip-fed new mechanics then. You can see that we now have the ability to ride mounts. We don't have one yet, but that is something we'll look at later on. And we also have use of a daily skill through the L1 and the square button as well. You can see it flashing in the middle of the screen. This is something that builds up as you attack enemies, and you want to save this for when you're going up against bosses. And on the subject of bosses, here we go for our first one. Thankfully we have some regular ads there as well, so we can get our summon in, otherwise we'd be stuck taking it on ourselves. You can see you've got the tail there. That was nice and easy to dodge, but again it's a low level enemy. As we work our way up, they'll attack quicker and there'll be more enemies attacking. Now we can see there in classic MMO style you can actually only pull the enemies so far, and if you pull them too far away from their original spawn point they'll head back to where they were and their health goes back up. So that's something you need to be wary of. As a ranged class you can't just keep kiting back all the time. You need to stay within a relative same distance of where you've engaged the enemy in the first instance. And that's us, first boss down, nice and easy. Apart from the fact his health reset, which was my fault. Now you will notice there that we've got an identify scroll and we've got a piece of gear that is unidentified as well. So you'll use these scrolls to identify items, and then once they're identified chances are they'll hopefully be an upgrade and then you'll get them equipped. There we go, we can see the new boots on the guy now. Looking not bad already considering how low level he is.
auspicious. But when you have to stop her. Lord Neverember is no saint, but he...
So that's most definitely a nice promising start there. Now after completing that initial starter zone we went to the main hub, which we will see more in this video, but I skipped past it for the reason being that it was really just talking to NPCs and picking up different quests. I figured we'd get straight back into the action again.
But he should have been back by now. I have to guard the entrance, but I'll let you through. Find the source of those noises and look for Quartermaster Otis. He'll know what's happening.
Now the one slight quibble I will have so far that I'll mention is you've seen the writing come up on screen there to tell you that different players had maybe opened certain lock boxes and got great loot out of them in an attempt for you to actually see that and think, wait a minute, the rates must be good, I'm going to put down some money and buy some of these boxes as well. Now there is no way that I can see from diving into the options to actually disable that, and it's a bit disappointing because this game is very heavy on the role playing perspective and it really breaks the immersion when you're going through a dungeon and it's all dark and there's all these creatures and then suddenly this writing slap bang in the middle of the screen comes up for a few seconds. So that is a bit disappointing there. If anyone knows a way to get rid of it, please do let me know in the comments below. But as mentioned, having a quick look at the options, I couldn't really see anything that I could use to disable that. So we've got some crafting elements here. You'll notice these tie in with these different actual areas within zones that, depending on your initial abilities, that you can pull crafting materials from. So before we actually continue on with this dungeon here, what I'll quickly do, because I have gained some new skills, is bring up the actual powers tab and I'll just hover over some of them so you can see there's a whole lot of complexity, there's lots of different ranks, but for me that's a good thing because I love playing around with builds and it does look like there's certainly a lot of options for various different builds available here. There we go, a whole lot of skills as we're working our way down there. And we've got a few passives tied into either your class or your race as well. It's level 70 appears to be the cap as well there. We've then got some more general powers, these will be relevant to the class and the race. And then we have something that's known as feats, so you can see there really is a ton of different ways to customise your character. You can go for crit chance there, you could go for some more health, so if you want to be tanky, you want to be a glass cannon, the options are available. And we have boons, not too sure what they are doing and I won't spend too much time on them, but this is really just to show you the amount of variation you can have in building your character. You got your mounts, again that's something we'll look at pretty later on in the video and it's something that's really pretty awesome, to be honest, the amount of variety of them. So now on to the Zen store. With it being a free to play game, you've got all these various different items. They can be cosmetics or they can be mounts or they can actually be things that can increase your experience gain and so on that are available. There's a ton of stuff there, so what I'll do is I'll just quickly scroll down to give you a rough idea. Now looking at the cost of Zen, I believe that it was around 500 sen for £3.99. So if you look at these items, some of them are 2,000 sen, so it does look like they're actually quite expensive. There's a ton there, but whether or not they're actually really needed to progress in the game, I'm not sure, and it's not something we'll touch on in this first impressions video. This will just be looking at the initial core gameplay. So if you do think that you're going to spend more time after watching this video and being interested, I would definitely investigate the aspects of the store and find out how much of this you really need to progress. And there we go, level 5. So we've now got, let's see, we can slot a second encounter power. So let's go in and see what we can equip here. So we're gaining power points as we level up. That's all pretty standard fare. You can see it's taking me a second to get used to the menus here. By the end of the video, much better, but it does take a little while to get used to it. So we have internal spheres. This looks like more of a defensive skill. And then we have vampiric embrace here, where we're stealing health from the enemy. We'll go for the spheres. That sounds like it could be quite fun to use, and I could use the extra defense whenever any of the enemies get past my minion. And we've got another upcoming boss here by the looks of things.
Honor, hurry and get the crown. The Guardian is waking up.
I quite like how they introduce the bosses there with the name at the bottom and the little animation for them as well. So we don't actually have our minion to help us here, because unfortunately we wasted our cooldown on the boss and it didn't defeat him, so that's something to be wary of if you are playing this particular class. So it adds an element of strategy into it. The mobility on this class really is helping a lot here. We fired off our daily skill as well. That does look pretty nice. And done.
to the Nashers!
Time to turn in this mission then, and we'll see what we'll get, and we'll also show off a little bit of this starter zone as well. So it's really pretty great looking, and you can see how busy the game is with loads of characters running around, and some of the high-end characters in their end game gear looks pretty awesome, and as well the mounts we see are a whole lot of fun.
A sly road called Honor Parade uses a ruined building near the Driftwood Tavern as their hideout. The Nashers will flee.
Greetings. Is there
You can see as well here that when we're in
south?
different zones there's lots of optional missions as well as your main quests, and generally you will have to do them so you'll be strong enough to complete the main quest. It's mainly fetch quests, go to point A, point B, collect
Well met.
items, defeat X amount of enemies, but with the combat feeling a lot of fun at this early stage for the few hours I've put into it, I've really not minded them at all. This is a nice little touch here. Each area has these different viewing zones called scrying stones, I believe, and if you hunt all them out you'll gain some experience for doing so, but it also shows you different perspectives of the zone that you're in.
There is no time for small talk.
Final stone we need here for this optional quest is just up on this mansion on a floating piece of scenery. Looks pretty great once we're up here. So we're just carrying on with the main quest here and we'll work our way through this dungeon. You can see there that it's popped up that we've got an achievement, and that's something we'll look at later on in the video as well. There's a ton of different achievements you can get. The points do add up. Whether or not you actually gain anything for those points I'm not too sure, but it does give you something to work towards. Not a boss fight here, so this was really a nice and little quick zone that we've went through. Now you'll see here something that I touched on earlier on in the video, that we mentioned the fact that you can go off the beaten trail should you wish, and this is something you can do here. So we've got a bookshelf and it's sparkling to let you know it's a point of interest. Because we successfully used our kit on it, bookshelf spins round and we've got a hidden treasure chest behind it, so that's really pretty great. I do like that. It means in each of the zones you want to explore every little nook and cranny to see if there's any hidden treasure. So we're now back at the main hub to turn in the quest here for Sergeant Knox, but before we do so we'll show off something that when I initially seen this I really was surprised how awesome it did look. It's all the different mounts that are available. You've got a huge griffin there, you've got a flaming horse, you've got some kind of spectral stag. We'll work our way around and show them all off because they really do look fantastic. There's a big armoured drake there, and then the beetle as well. The variety in how they look is, yeah, it really is great. Massively impressed by this element of it. Although, saying that, I don't know how much they do cost. Chances are they'll be pretty expensive, but they do look great.
Welcome to the Shonicle State.
Just quickly head over to the ones here as well, because you've got a steampunk style one that I really do want to see up close. Yeah, that's nice. It's a steampunk style scorpion there made out of like a big metal barrel. So let's go back to Sergeant Knox anyway. You can see various different people that have unlocked the mounts there. Another rather awesome looking mount there, someone on a big spider.
Protector's Enclave.
Gothwin went to Blacklake. If Gothwin's gone into Blacklake District, that's going to be trouble.
Here we go. Looks like we're heading to a new zone. We're going to Blacklake for a set of missions.
The National Rebels are...
So we've got our first proper new zone here, and we've got lots of different missions we can work on as well. And there, of course, of the standard MMO variety, it will be defeat certain enemies, pick up certain items. But again, as I've already mentioned, the fact that I'm really quite enjoying the combat, that it doesn't feel like a chore as I'm working my way through them.
How's a person that Nashers claim to be revolutionaries? They're just another street gang. They steal from the poor, claiming it's to overthrow a tyrant. But all they really want is to line their own pockets. Well, no more. I've still got a little coin, and I'll pay you well to recover some of the things they stole.
So we've jumped past the initial quests we were doing there, because there was quite a lot of them in that particular zone, and I want to show off all the different elements that the game does offer. So we're in another dungeon here, we'll work our way through it. Might need to get a nice new item drop in there, so we'll get that equipped. Has lifesteal on it as well, so that's going to come in useful. So we can see here there's a new mechanic we've been introduced to, the fact that you can suffer different injuries on various different parts of your character. Now when you suffer them, you can either use an injury kit or you can stand near a campfire for 30 seconds in order to remove one of the injuries. So that's your ideal time if you've got a few injuries on you, to go make your cup of tea and have a slight break. And we now have the final boss for this particular zone, Flea Bottom, which makes me think of Game of Thrones, that. Got a few more skills to try out on him here, so I'm not doing very good rotation wise, but hopefully it's nice to see a different variety of skills. Now, just as we're turning this in here, you can see in the background sparkling away, there's a big large switch. This is similar to the bookshelf, and although we've completed this particular dungeon, the end treasure chest is shining away for us to pick up. If we explore about a little bit more, pull some switches, we can see what happens to hopefully get a little bit of extra loot. Or injuries as well. There we go, we've now got our final loot chest. We'll see what we'll get here. New set of boots, nice upgrade there, so that's pretty good. So with this having shown off a nice amount of gameplay there, I'll start to dive a bit more into the different elements. You can see the character sheet, all the different options that are available, but you'll notice if we press the square button you can wear your fashion set, so you can actually have particular clothing you can put on. When you switch to the fashion set, you will be wearing that when you're fighting, but you'll still get the benefits from your main set. We can see as well, if we look at combat skills, we're up to level 10 now. We've unlocked a class mechanic where we can place curses on enemies, and different skills will actually act differently if the enemy has a curse in them. So already at level 10 we can see a whole lot of options opening up for different builds here. Next up we have the Paragon Path selection. This is something that I'm not entirely 100% sure at what point you unlock it, but it allows you to go down two very different distinct routes with your character. The Hellbringer for this class would be more about actual fire damage and summons. I'll quickly show off some of the skills you would unlock if you chose to go down this path. We then have Soulbinder, so you can see this one's all about lifesteal, which is a large element of this particular class, so you would be further enhancing that. You've got the different combat powers, and down the bottom in a moment we'll show off it's got something called minor mechanics as well. So there we go there, it's Soul Spark, and with this you gain a counter and you can work it up. So as much as it says it's a minor mechanic, that looks like it really could quite change a lot how your character would play, so certainly very interesting that. So now back to the Zen market, and a section of the game that really excited me a lot, as you can probably tell so far. It's the different mounts that are available. As mentioned again, from a Zen to money perspective, it seems that they could be quite expensive, but They really do look pretty awesome. Giant crab, heavy howler. There we go there, a hellhound as well. So if you're role playing, you want to play a particular style of character, it looks like there will be an option available for you there. So we're moving into the end of the video here, and because we've finished the main starter zone, you can see we're going to get a ton of quests thrown at us. Some that allow us to gain a mount, some that actually introduce us to the PvP and various different elements of the game. And we can see we've got our first piece of more rare gear that would be available. We've got a green item there as a quest reward for a mission, but you can see a whole lot of different missions we're unlocking here.
You should go see.
So I'm now back to my favourite section, the mounts, once more here. The reason I'm showing this off is it was nice and easy to actually unlock a mount at a relatively low level. I think I've spent about 2 hours in the game. The quests I got a moment ago I turned in, simply went to an NPC and that unlocked a mount. Now on the subjects of quests, we can see the quest log here. You can see all the different main ones, then you've got ones that are specific to different zones, and you can select waypoints and work your way through them. Got quite a lot of quests to work on already. We then have achievements. I'll quickly scroll through these. You can see there's an absolute ton. As mentioned again, I'm not sure what your point total at the top is for, if it unlocks anything or if it's just simply for bragging rights, but you've got PvP achievements here as well. We then have the campaigns, so as you work your way through the story you can get a summary of what happened, and also you get rewards working your way through it as well, so that's a nice little bonus there. Now next up, and for the end of the video, a nice way to finish it off, you've got your quest finder, because of course you have various different dungeons that are available. It'll tell you the average wait time, which is pretty great, because games like Skyforge for example, you don't know if it'll pop straight away, you'll be waiting 10 minutes. It tells you your item level and the group requirement you'll be looking for as well. So let's finish up by doing the Black Lake Terror instance. So we've added that to our queue. We can still play, but we'll see how quick this pops here. So as much as we've done on our time jump there, it was actually only about 15-20 seconds for that queue to pop, so that's good. And I really do like the fact with the queue finder that you can queue something up and then keep continuing on with the story. That's a nice little option there. You can see we've got 4 other people fighting alongside us. A whole lot of enemies as well. There's a rogue style halfling character there. Then we've got an archer as well on the outside. So you can see there we've got a new daily skill selected to show off the big green skill with all the poison coming off it. It really does look pretty great. That's only a level 12 skill, so imagine as we work our way up the skills will look great. So we are almost finished this particular instant dungeon. So overall, first impressions, really enjoyed it a lot, and to be honest I'm quite itching to go back and have another look at the archer class now that I understand a bit more all the different ways the classes can be unique. So there's a ton of build variety, there's a whole lot to do in game. How much you actually need to spend when it gets to end game again, I'm not too sure. So before you do invest too much in the game, most definitely do look into that, because at a first look the store does look to be quite expensive, but you may be able to ignore it. I genuinely don't know. But overall, fantastic first impressions, really did enjoy this a lot, certainly a lot more than Terra last week. Once again, apologies Terra fans. Now next up we will be having a look at Warframe. This is one that I've had a lot of people say is absolutely fantastic, so it's one that I'm looking forward to a lot. So really, as always, I hope this video was useful. If you guys have got any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask below, and I'll see you all again soon.